I walked into the bridal suite on the morning of my wedding and found my mother astride my fiancé, her manicured nails digging into his chest like she was claiming territory she'd eyed for years. The air smelled of Chanel No. 5 and stale sweat, the kind that clings to secrets too long buried, and the half-empty bottle of Dom Perignon we'd toasted with last night now mocked me from the nightstand, bubbles long gone flat. She froze mid-thrust, her eyes widening not in horror, but in that calculated pause of a woman who's always known how to play her cards, while he just lay there, slack-jawed, his wedding ring, my wedding ring, glinting accusingly on his finger. "Brinley, sweetheart," Mom purred, sliding off him with the grace of a cat who'd just knocked over the milk, wrapping the sheet around her like a toga of false innocence. "This isn't. We didn't mean for you to see." Her voice was honey over gravel, the same tone she'd used when she accidentally drained Dad's savings for her third facelift, leaving him to kill himself in that Fleabag motel off I-95. I didn't scream, didn't hurl the champagne flute at her head. Instead, I crossed the room in my silk robe, the one embroidered with Mrs. Harrington in looping gold thread, and poured myself a glass, watching the fizz die as it hit the crystal. "It's perfect timing, actually," I said, my voice steady as the Mississippi in flood season, clinking the glass against his. "Because I've got a wedding to ruin, and y'all just handed me the guest list." They stared at me like I'd grown a second head, Mom clutching the sheet to her sagging cleavage, still perky enough after the surgeon's knife. Thank God for Beverly Hills and Jake. My Jake, scrambling for his boxers like a frat boy caught in the dorms. "Bryn, babe." "Listen," he started, but I cut him off with a laugh that echoed off the gilt mirrors, sharp and foreign even to me. 28 years in the American dream machine. From Baton Rouge trailer parks to this overpriced Ritz-Carlton in downtown Nashville. And here I was, the punchline to their private joke. But punchlines have setups. And mine? It started long before this bed, back when Mom taught me that love was just another debt to collect. I grew up in the sticky heat of Louisiana, where the bayous swallow secrets like gators take stray dogs. Mom, Lila to her lovers, that bitch to my teachers, was a force of nature, all teased bleach blonde hair and leopard print spandex, hustling cocktails at the Roadhouse off Highway 61 while Dad punched clocks at the refinery. She had a laugh like a slot machine payout, drawing men in like flies to spilled beer. But her eyes? Cold as the Atchafalaya in January. By the time I was 10, I'd seen her cycle through husbands like fast fashion. Number 1 was Dad. Number 2, the trucker, who left bruises like love letters. Number 3, the accountant, who invested our rent money in offshore poker sites. I was the good girl, the one who covered for her. When the school called about my absentee guardian, I'd forge notes in her looping cursive, claiming flu or family emergencies. When cops showed up after she'd borrowed the neighbor's Chevy for a joyride to Biloxi, I'd swear she was home baking pralines, my small hands sticky with lies. And the big one, the real gut punch, I took the fall for her at 16. That night at the Mardi Gras after-party, when she got sloppy with the parish judge's son, and the boy ended up floating face down in Lake Pontchartrain, toxicology reports screaming roofies. Mom swore it was an accident, a misunderstanding, but the evidence pointed to her purse, to the pills she'd palmed from the pharmacy, where she tempied as a receptionist. "Take the hit, baby girl," she'd whispered in the squad car, her breath bourbon sweet against my ear. "You're young. They'll go easy. Mama's got dreams bigger than this swamp." "So I did." Pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Serve 18 months in juvie upstate, time enough to learn that the system's rigged for girls like us. Poor and pretty in the wrong zip code. I got out with a record that shadowed every job app, every college deferral.
But Mom?
She packed us up overnight. Landed a manager gig at a Nashville strip club, and started over, leaving me to scrub the stigma like gum off a boot. That's where I met Jake. Or rather, where Mom paraded him in front of me like a prize steer at the state fair. He was everything our trailer park life wasn't. Vanderbilt law grad. Family money from Atlanta real estate. That easy southern drawl that made Darlin sound like a promise. We met at her club, me waitressing tables to pay for community college. Him there for a bachelor party he claimed was ironic. One spilled tray of hurricanes later, and he was buying me out of that shift, whispering about escaping the grind, building a life in the burbs with white pickets and 401ks. I fell hard. The way you do when someone's the first to see you as more than your rap sheet. Mom hated him at first. Called him Yale yuppie behind his back. Said he was too clean for our blood. But I saw the shift, the way her laughs lingered when he dropped by for gumbo Sundays. Her touches on his arm turning from maternal to something stickier. I ignored it. Chalked it up to her needing male attention like oxygen. We got engaged on the Smoky Mountains overlook, ring box popping open under a blood-orange sunset, and I thought I'd finally outrun the past. Wedding planning became my religion. Vera Wong gown, Opryland reception, invites to every cousin who'd ever side-eyed us. Mom cooed over the Pinterest boards, even footed half the bill from her tips, God knows from where. But crack showed. Jake's late nights at the firm stretched to dawn, his phone buzzing with deleted texts I pretended not to notice. Mom's errands synced suspiciously with his schedule. And then, 2 weeks out, I found the receipt in his wallet, the Ritz suite, booked under her name, for the wedding eve. Surprise for you, babe, he lied when I asked. But his eyes darted like a cornered coon. I let it slide. Love's blind. Or so they say in country ballads. Until that morning.
Now.
In the suite, as Mom dabbed at her smudged mascara with a monogrammed towel, BH. For Brinley Harrington. The irony biting like bad moonshine, Jake pulled on his slacks, mumbling apologies that reeked of rehearsal. We were just talking. And it escalated. Your mom's been through so much.
Bryn.
After your dad. Save it, I snapped, the champagne turning sour in my gut. Talking? With your dick as the debate club president. Mom shot him a glare. The first crack in their united front. And I savored it like chicory and weak coffee. This wasn't just infidelity, it was excavation. Unearthing the rot I'd buried for her. All those years, I'd carried her sins, the lies, the fall guy, the emotional IOUs piling up like foreclosure notices. And Jake, he'd known. Last year, during a drunken fight, he'd let slip that Mom had confessed over one too many Cosmos at a fundraiser, the juvie stint, the judge's kid. How I'd protected the family. He'd pitted me then. Proposed out of some white knight bullshit. But pity curdles fast. I set the glass down. The clink final as a gavel.
Get dressed.
Ceremonies in 3 hours. Wouldn't want the guests to miss the vows. They exchanged looks, wary, conspiratorial, and I unlocked the door, stepping into the hallway where the maid's cart waited like a confessional booth. As I rode the elevator to my solo prep room, mirrors reflecting a ghost in lace, the plan crystallized. Not screams or scandals, Not the Lifetime movie meltdown.
No.
My revenge would be surgical. American as apple pie a la mode, a lesson in consequences. Served with a side of their own medicine. They'd stolen my big night?
Fine.
I'd hijack theirs, the one they'd plotted in whispers. The fresh start they thought waited post-betrayal. By the time the cake was cut, they'd choke on the frosting. The lobby buzzed with early arrivals, Auntie's bridge club in pastel Chanel knockoffs. Jake's frat brothers nursing hangovers with Bloody Marys. The photographer circling like a vulture in khakis. I slipped into the bridal salon, locking the door against the chaos, and pulled out my laptop, the one loaded with backups. Because in Tennessee, we back up our grudges like storm cellars. First, the emails, Jake's firm account. Hacked months ago via a phishing link disguised as a porn spam, men are predictable as humidity. There they were. The threads starting innocuous, Mom thanking him for helping with Bryn's surprises, escalating to hotel bookings. Nude selfies time-stamped during my night shifts. Plans for after the divorce. When she's committed you or something. Committed? The word hit like a sucker punch. They'd discussed institutionalizing me, leveraging my juvie record to paint me unstable, clearing the path for their happily ever after. Deeper dive, Mom's browser history, synced to the shared family cloud I'd never deleted. Searches for quiet divorce settlements in TN, alimony for adult children, even how to fake a breakdown for sympathy. And the kicker, a folder labeled Bryn's insurance, PDFs of forged psych evals, dated back to my release. Twisted to suggest ongoing episodes. She'd been building this cage for years, waiting for the right mark. Jake was just the latest tool in her kit. My fingers flew across keys, drafting the leak, an anonymous drop to the family group chat, timed for the recessional. Attachments, screenshots.
Timestamps.
A voice memo of Mom cooing. She's always been fragile.
Jakey.
We'll get her help, real help. Then it's you and me. Sugar. But that was the appetizer. The main course? Their big night. From the emails, it was set. Post-wedding. While I honeymooned alone, his gift to me, the bastard. They'd jet to Maui on my ticket, turning my paradise into their love nest. Delta Flight 456. Confirmed. I'd reroute that shitshow myself. A knock rattled the door, the stylist, chirpy with hairspray cans. Miss Brinley? It's go time. I minimized the tabs, plastered on the smile that had landed me valedictorian despite the cuffs. As she pinned my veil, gossamer threads veiling the storm, I pictured their faces when the altar awaited not vows, but viral shame. Revenge isn't hot, it's cold, calculated. The kind that simmers in cast iron skillets over low heat till it blackens everything. And mine? It was about to boil over. The ceremony loomed like a thunderhead over the Cumberland River, guests milling in the hotel's grand ballroom under chandeliers that dripped light like melting wax. I floated down the aisle in my gown, a vision in ivory silk that hugged curves I'd starved for to fit the sample size. Jake waiting at the altar in his tailored tux. Mom in the front pew dabbing tears with a handkerchief that probably hit a flask. The organ swelled with Pachelbel's canon, that treacly string of notes meant to evoke eternity. But all I heard was the tick-tock of my internal clock counting down to detonation. His eyes met mine, guilty, pleading, and for a split second, I almost pitied him. Almost. Then I remembered the texts. She's clueless.
Babe. Tonight.
After the toasts, we slip away. By morning, it's our world. Reverend Hargrove. A silver-haired Baptist with a drawl thick as sorghum. Droned through the preliminaries. His Bible opened to Corinthians like it could sanctify this farce. Dearly beloved, he intoned. We are gathered here in the sight of God and these witnesses. Witnesses. That's what they were. 80 souls from Jake's country club set and my shotgun shack kin. Oblivious to the powder keg. I tuned out. Mind racing through contingencies. If Jake bolted mid-vows, back up, the videographer. In my pocket via a Venmo'd hush fee. Ready to stream live to Instagram. If mom played the hysterics card, her phone, cloned last week, set to auto-dial 911 with a pre-recorded suicide note, audio, her voice, edited from old voicemails, confessing, debts I can't pay. Due. Jacob Ellis Harrington. Take Brinley Marie Thibodeau to be your lawfully wedded wife. The room held its breath. Jake swallowed. Adam's apple bobbing like a buoy in chop.
I
do. Liar. His I do was for her. Always had been. Mom's gaze bored into my back. A laser of warning. But I felt her unease. The way her foot tapped Morse code against the carpet. SOS for her sinking ship. And you, Brinley, take Jacob to be your husband. Hargrove's eyes twinkled, expecting the fairy tale affirm. I paused, letting the silence stretch like taffy. Guests shifting in their seats. Jake's best man, a weaselly broker named Trent, whispered something crude that drew chuckles, typical bro-code bullshit. Brinley, the Reverend prompted, sweat beading on his collar. I smiled, slow and serpentine, the kind that gets you labeled Southern Belle with bite in debutante circles. I do, I said, loud enough for the mics to catch. With all the reservations of a girl who's learned love's just a lease with hidden fees. Murmurs rippled, polite confusion. The first fracture. Rings exchanged, his slid on cold. Mine he fumbled, nicking my knuckle. We kissed, chaste, obligatory, his lips tasting of mint to mask the morning sin. The recessional hit, trumpets blaring triumph, and as we processed out, arms linked in parity, I thumbed the app on my smartwatch.
tick.
The group chat bomb dropped. Pings erupted like fireworks gone wrong, phones buzzing in purses and pockets. Faces paling as thumbnails loaded, mom's thigh-highs tangled with Jake's monogrammed briefs. Email chains scrolling like indictments. What the hell? From Cousin Ray in the back row. Lila, with the groom, from Jake's aunt, her pearls clutched like rosaries. Mom's head whipped around, eyes locking on mine, but I kept walking, veil trailing like a comet's tail of deceit. Jake's grip tightened, a vice of panic. Bryn, what did you? Smile for the cameras. Darling, I murmured, flashing peace signs at the photographer. The ballroom dissolved into chaos, whispers swelling to shouts. Mom rising like a banshee. This is a lie. Some hacker. Brinley's unstable. You know her history.
Oh.
She went there, dredging my juvie ghost for cover. Guests divided, his side glaring daggers. Mine nodding knowingly, having long suspected her charms hid claws. We hit the foyer, Jake yanking me into a coat closet reeking of mothballs and desperation. How could you? It's out there. My partners are seeing this shit. He raked hands through his hair, gel flaking like dandruff of defeat. I leaned against a fur stole, calm as a gator sunning. How could I? Let's tally you porking my mom in our suite. Plotting to Baker act me for the inheritance. Oh. Did I mention the will tweak? Yours. Last month. Leaving me the house but you the offshore account she funneled gifts into. his face drained whiter than my gown. You spied? That's illegal. As illegal as statutory fraud on your bar app. Counselor. That underage clerk you banged for case files? Time-stamped. I dug deep. Nights in the law library poring over public records, cross-referencing with his LinkedIn brags. He deflated, sliding down the wall. I love you,
Bryn.
This was a lapse. Your mom, she's persuasive, said you'd never know, that we could fix. Fix me? Like a stray? Laughter bubbled, bitter as chicory. Newsflash, I'm not the broken one. But y'all, you're about to be. I straightened, smoothing my train. Reception awaits. Dance cards full, starting with your toast. He followed me out like a whipped dog. The party a minefield of averted eyes and clinking glasses masking judgment. Toasts devolved into interrogations, Trent slurring. Dude. You dog, nailing the MILF. Jake's dad. Red-faced, hissing about disgracing the Harrington name. Mom cornered me by the cake. 5 tiers of red velvet. Knife poised like a guillotine. You vindictive little cunt, she hissed. Breath hot with gin. After all I've done, sacrificed. I parried, voice low for the eavesdroppers. You mean framing me for murder? Or grooming my fiancé like a mark? Her eyes flickered guilt. Or calculation. That boy was trouble.
Bryn.
Judge's kid. High on blow. I saved us. And Jake? He's mine now. Always was. You were the placeholder. The words landed like buckshot. But I didn't flinch. Placeholder?
Cute.
Enjoy the suite tonight, alone. His flights cancelled. Card flagged for fraud. And that Maui villa? Rented to a frat party. Pi Kappa Alpha. Full debauch. Her bluff called. She lunged, nails raking air, but security, tipped by a text, materialized, escorting her out amid gasps. Unhinged, she wailed. She's the criminal. The night blurred. Dances with uncles who patted my back too hard. Cake smeared like war paint. Jake vanishing to field calls from disowning kin. By midnight, as fireworks popped over the river, our grand finale, I slipped to the valet, keys to his Beamer in hand. Their big night? Tonight. But not in paradise. I'd rigged it. The car GPS looped to a surprise detour, leading not to the airport but a no-tell-motel off Murfreesboro Pike. The kind with hourly rates and glory holes.
En route.
An anonymous tip to Jake's firm. His bar association, enough to suspend his license pending investigation. For Mom, a warrant pinged to her phone. Old pharmacy thefts resurfacing like zombies, courtesy of a planted affidavit from my juvie days contact. I drove into the night, gown hiked like a rebel flag. Radio crooning Carrie Underwood's Before He Cheats. Vengeance hummed in my veins. Sweet as pralines. But hollow too, like winning the lottery only to find the check bounced. Was this justice? Or just trading scars? The dashboard clock hit 1 a.m. And my phone lit. A text from an unknown number. Brinley? It's Trent. Jake's confessing everything.
Says.
You knew about the affair months ago. Planned this whole thing to cover your own embezzlement from the wedding fund. What the fuck? Embezzlement? My heart stuttered. I'd skimmed nothing. Every penny accounted. Down to the monogrammed napkins. But as taillights faded into fog, doubt crept. How deep did their lies burrow? Or was this the real twist, their final flip, framing me to claw back control? Dawn broke over the motel's neon sign. Vacancy flickering like a bad omen, as I pulled into the lot, the Beamer's engine ticking cool in the muggy air. The place was a relic from my Louisiana days, peeling clapboard. A vending machine hawking stale Funyuns. The parking strip scarred with oil ghosts from 1,000 regrets. Room 7's curtains twitched, and there they were, Jake and Mom, huddled like refugees, his arm around her shoulders in a pose that screamed codependency. I'd beaten them by 20 minutes. The GPS hack buying me time to stage the scene, a bottle of bottom-shelf bourbon on the dresser, 2 glasses smeared with lipstick, hers, pilfered from the suite, and my piece de resistance, a hidden cam feed streaming live to a burner laptop, captioned Harrington Honeymoon Highlights on a private subreddit for scorned spouses. They spilled out as I killed the headlights. Mom in a rumpled sheath dress that screamed walk of shame, Jake in boxers, and a Harrington law tee stretched taut over his gut. Brinley, Mom croaked, voice raw from screaming or sobbing. I didn't care which. How did you? This is kidnapping. Jake lunged for the car door. But I revved the engine. Gravel spitting like accusations. Get in, I said. Not a request. Your big night's just starting. Wouldn't want to miss the encore. Reluctance etched their faces, defiance warring with defeat, but self-preservation won. They piled in. Mom's shotgun. Jake sulking in back like a grounded teen. The drive was silent at first, the radio static hissing between us, until Mom cracked. You think this makes you better? Ruining lives? I taught you everything, how to survive in this man's world. Men like him. She jerked a thumb at Jake. They take. We take back. Survive? I snorted, merging onto I-40 East, the skyline shrinking in the rearview. You taught me to be you, a user, a liar, a black hole sucking in anyone dumb enough to orbit. Jake piped up from the peanut gallery. She's right.
Bryn.
It was her idea, the affair, the plan. I was weak.
But you.
This is psychotic. Psychotic. The word stung, echoing the psych eval she'd forged, but I swallowed it. Weak? You proposed to me while balls deep in her voicemails. And psychotic? Wait till the bar hears about your client entertainment, those escorts billed as depositions. The miles unspooled. Nashville fading to cornfields and billboards for Jesus billboards and truck stop to the bars. Their big night was my road trip from hell, a forced confessional looping backroads to Chattanooga, where I'd booked a mediation suite at a seedy B&B, neutral ground for my inquisition.
En route.
The texts from Trent nod. Embezzlement? I'd check the accounts later. But doubt festered. Had I missed something? Wedding costs spiraled. $80K total. My savings drained. Jake's contribution vapor. A quick glance at the banking app. Transfers to an offshore LLC. Mom's LLC. From the emails. They bled me dry. Then planned to pin the shortfall on my instability. By noon, we hit the B&B, a Victorian fixer-upper with lace doilies and a host who eyed us like escaped cons. I herded them inside, locking the parlor door. The cam drone, Amazon impulse spy, hovering like a mechanical eye. Sit, I commanded, pouring coffee from a pot that smelled of desperation. Time for truths. No lawyers, no spins. Start with the judge's kid. Mom. She lit a Virginia Slim. Smoke curling like accusations. You were 16.
Wild.
That boy, Tommy, he roofied you first.
Not me.
I switched the drinks to teach him a lesson, but it went wrong. He drowned.
And I
couldn't let it touch me. Not when I had plans.
Plans.
For what? A life unscarred.
While I wore the stripes.
And Dad, I pressed. They accident? Jake shifted. Uncomfortable audience. Mom exhaled slow. He found out about Tommy. The pills. Threatened to turn me in. The exhaust in that motel? Timed just right. Carbon monoxide's a quiet killer. Confession hung heavy. But her eyes? Gleaming. Unrepentant. I did it for us.
Bryn.
To keep the roof over our heads.
Us.
The lie that bound me. And Jake. I turned to him. Voice steel. When did she recruit you? He cracked fast. Sweat beading. 6 months in. After your engagement party. She cornered me in the bathroom. Said you were damaged goods. That marrying you would ruin my career. Your record public if I pushed for prenup. Offered. Alternatives. Alternatives, her. The money skimmed from my fund to pad his campaigns. We slept together that night. Thought it was one-off. But she kept pushing the leaks. The psych stuff. Said it'd make you back out. Leave me free. Free for what? Their twisted duet? I paced. Floorboards creaking judgment. And the embezzlement? Trent's text. Mom laughed. Sharp as shattered glass. That? Our insurance. We drained the account. Framed you with dummy transfers from your login. When you flipped, we'd cry foul. Unstable bride steals wedding cash. Cops love a felon relapse story. The room spun. Betrayal layering like sedimentary rock. I'd carried her crimes. Only for her to forge new chains. But here, in this dust-mote sunbeam, power shifted. Wrong move, I said, pulling the laptop. See, I anticipated. Funds? Frozen yesterday. Traced to your Cayman shell. Jake's bar complaint? Filed this morning. With timestamps. And the live feed. I tapped play, their motel entry. Whispers of, we'll get her committed. Then split the pot. Horror dawned, shared. For once. You bitch, Jake growled. Lunging. But the drone buzzed warning. And Mom held him back. Calculating anew.
Wait.
We can cut a deal. 3-way split.
Or. I go down alone.
Tell him he forced me. The golden boy preying on the help.
Flip.
Her loyalty. A coin always landing self. Jake recoiled. You'd rap me? For a plea? In a heartbeat. Chaos erupted, shouts. Accusations flying like buckshot. The cam capturing every fracture. I watched, detached, as their alliance crumbled. The revenge not in ruin but revelation. They'd built this pyre together.
And now it consumed them from within.
By dusk, as sirens wailed distant, my anonymous 911 for domestic disturbance, laced with details, I stepped out, leaving them to the wolves. The host pressed a key into my hand. Spare room.
Dear.
Looks like you need it. Night fell. Stars pricking the Tennessee sky. And I poured bourbon neat. Toasting the woman in the mirror, scarred. But standing. Victory? Or just the intermission in a longer war? But the phone buzzed again. Trent. Voicemail. Bryn. It's worse. Found docs, your signature on the transfers. Mom and Jake? They say you orchestrated it all. Seduced them into confessing for the sympathy play. Cups en route. Run.
Twist.
Their final gambit. Or mine unraveling. The bourbon burned. And I smiled into the dark. The B&B's spare room was a time capsule of faded glory, wallpaper peeling like old skin. A brass bed sagging under quilts that smelled of lavender and loss. I bolted the door, heart hammering a tattoo against my ribs, Trent's voicemail looping in my skull like a bad country single on repeat.
Run?
From what? Cops? Or the mirror showing a woman who danced too close to her mother's flame. The bourbon bottle, half empty now, whispered temptations, chug and chase. Or sip and scheme. I chose the latter, firing up the laptop, its glow casting me as villain in my own biopic. First,
Verify.
banking logs, yes. My login stamped the transfers, timestamps syncing with my coffee runs, gym sessions, alibis airtight as a politician's promise. Forged? No doubt. Mom's handiwork. Her cursive a ghost I'd exorcised but never escaped. Jake's bar complaint? Already rebutted in their statements. Attached evidence of my stalking, screenshots of my hacks, twisted to look like obsession. And the cam feed? Hacked midstream. Edited clips circulating, me coercing confessions. Their faces blurred for victimhood. Sympathy play. Indeed. They'd flipped the script, casting me as the Medea of Murfreesboro, torching my happily ever after for sport. Sirens grew louder, blue-red strobing the curtains like a disco of doom. No time for tears, Southern girls don't dissolve, we distill. I grabbed the burner phone, dialing my ace, Raylene, cousin and paralegal at a Memphis firm, the one who'd inked my first tattoo post-juvie. A Bayou Lily for resilience. Bryn? Jesus. It's on every local feed. Jilted bride kidnaps MILF and groom. What the hell? Framed. I clipped, voice steady as I packed the laptop, stuffing the gown into a duffel like shedding skin. Mom and Jake. Got backups, emails.
Cams.
Send to your boss. Anonymously. And Ray, pull my juvie file. Full expunge if you can. Leverage the Tommy truth. She whistled low. That's digging graves.
Girl.
But for you?
Done.
Head north. I'll text a safe house. I slipped out the back, skirting the azaleas. The night air thick with jasmine and justice deferred. The Beamer purred to life. But I ditched it for Ray's pickup. Stashed 2 blocks over, prepped paranoia paying off. Tires bit gravel as I peeled toward I-24. Chattanooga's lights blurring into streaks of regret. Radio crackled with the story. WKRN's anchor. Voice slick as Crisco. Authorities seek Brinley Thibodeau Harrington, 28, in connection with an elaborate wedding hoax turned felony. Sources say the bride, with a prior manslaughter conviction, orchestrated the scandal to cover financial misdeeds. Prior conviction. Always the hook they hung me on. Miles mounted. Knoxville looming like a jury box. And doubt gnawed deeper. Was this karma's boomerang? I'd sought to teach a lesson. But in the rear view, I saw Mom's eyes, mirrors of my own, hungry and haunted. The affair? I'd suspected months back. A lipstick stain on his collar dismissed as client lunch. Why not confront then? Fear. Maybe, of losing the fairy tale. Or worse, becoming her, alone, clawing for scraps. Instead, I'd hoarded the hurt, weaponizing it into this whirlwind. Controversial? Hell yes. Readers, if this went tabloid, would split, cheer the scorned avenger dismantling the cheaters, or condemn the vigilante dragging innocence, through mud. No heroes here. Just survivors slinging shit. Dawn painted the Appalachians gold as I hit the safe house, a cabin off the Blue Ridge Parkway. Raylene's hunting retreat, stocked with moonshine and mistrust. She met me at the door, Frizzy perm and hug fierce as a bear trap. Files en route. Your story checks. Tommy's talk switched. Your prints nowhere. Mom's prints? All over the baggie. But Bryn. The cops raided your apartment. Found suicide notes, your handwriting. Dated pre-wedding. Talking institutionalization for you. My knees buckled. Coffee table catching my fall. Forged again?
Or. No.
The memos I drafted for their exposure. Contingency drafts deleted. Hacked. Repurposed. They're painting me suicidal. Unhinged. To justify the hold. Ray nodded grim. And Jake's law buddies? Circling like sharks. Petitioning for your eval. But wait, the twist. She slid a tablet over. News ticker scrolling. Groom Jacob Harrington arrested for fraud. Mother of bride Lila Thibodeau charged with accessory to manslaughter.
Circa 2007.
My leaks, amplified by her firm's anon drop, had pierced their armor. Mugshots loaded. Jake hollow-eyed. Mom's snarling defiance. Public opinion teetered. Justice for Bryn trending on X. Counter hashtag protect the victims from his blue blood brigade. But the real gut twist? A video embed. Time-stamped last night me. In the B&B parlor. Laughing as they confessed. Cam angle making it look like glee at their pain. Caption. Bride's revenge or psychopath's game? Comments exploded. She deserved it. But damn. That's cold. MILF did wrong. But kidnapping? Lock her up. Divided. As I'd engineered. But now the blade cut both ways. Days blurred in the cabin. Burner calls to lawyers. Affidavits stacking like cordwood. Media hounds baying at the Treeline. Raylene smuggled groceries. Her drawl a bomb. You're free.
Girl.
Expunge granted. Tommy ruled accident. Your record wiped.
Free.
The word tasted like unsweet tea. Jake took a plea disbarment. Restitution, slipping into witness protection with a new name. Probably Miami condo bound. Mom? Fought like a cornered gator. Trial set for spring. Her defense, coerced by my own flesh and blood. Irony. Thy name is Thibodeau. On the seventh night, as snow dusted the ridges, rare for Tennessee, a blanket of absolution, I sat on the porch, laptop open to the wedding album, untouched photos mocking from the cloud.
Delete?
Or archive. Like scars? A final email pinged from an address I recognized. Jake's offshore ghost. Brinley?
I'm sorry.
Truly. Your mom. She blackmailed me with the embezzlement, said she'd pin it all on you unless I played along. The forgeries? Her. But the affair?
Mine.
I loved her fire. Hated your caution. Lesson learned. Fire burns the hand that stokes it. Be free. Attachment. A notarized confession. Absolving me fully. Routed through Ray's firm. Pyrrhic? Maybe. But as I hit send to the DA, forwarding the kill shot, a weight lifted, not joy, but release. The twist? No grand gotcha. Just the mundane truth. We'd all been pawns at her game. Me the reluctant queen finally checkmating the board. Spring came slow. Trial headlines fading to footnotes. I sold the gown on eBay, worn once. Betrayal optional. Banked the cash for a one-way to Seattle. Where rain washes sins and tech jobs don't Google juvie ghosts. Mom got 10 to 20. Her appeals a echo in empty cells. Jake vanished into irrelevance. Another cautionary tweet storm. Ending? Not happy. Not tragic, just American, messy, debatable. The kind where you argue over beers who really won.
Me?
I drive highways now. Windows down. Wind whipping lies away. Revenge taught its lesson.
All right.
But the biggest? Forgiveness starts with the rear view. And mine's cracked. But clear.